and gentlemen, please meet the fabulous Leanne. Good evening. So by show of hands, who can remember what you wanted to be when you were young? Okay, keep your hand up if you're doing that role now. Mind you down.
Oh.
Okay, so a few people.
Up.
You wanted to be an ops director when you were 7?
No, I was to design jewellery and kids.
Okay, yeah, fair. Okay. All right. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Actually, I didn't. What 7-year-old wants to be an entrepreneur? It made me very precocious. But I wanted to run businesses like my father. That's what I wanted to do when I was that age. And I think it's really interesting when you look at what people wanted to be when they were very young compared to what they're doing now, because there's often this huge disconnect, isn't there, between the two things. And I wondered how that came to be, because these are supposed to be the things that we dream of, and we've got all this opportunity to educate ourselves so that we can be that thing. And quite often we're not. So you meet people that wanted to be an astronaut when they were 7 and they worked for KPMG. And these other sort of massive disconnects. So I've thought about that, and it's very relevant to what I do now. And going back to when I was 7, I wanted to run companies like my father. So I wanted what I now know to be an entrepreneur. And I did make progress with that. So when I was 14, I started my first company, and it was called Surfwave. And what we did, and it was super cool because we nicked the idea, so it wasn't even our idea, but we got there first. We built the first product, which is a great lesson that you don't have to have the best idea, you have to implement it quickest. And these things were bits of plywood that we got from a DIY shop, and we carved off the edges to make it look something like a snowboard, as we know it now. And we attached bits of seat belt to it, so you could slide your feet in like that. You can get your feet out very quickly. If you fell a bit like a snowboard, it comes with you. And Gorilla Grip, which is that very abrasive stuff that you get on windsurfers, you know what I mean. So we put that on there as well to keep your feet in position. And we sold these things down at the local quarry where you can gain entry. Gain entry and get yourself down these very steep quarries and stand surf down them. It was brilliant fun. That was my first business. We had a little Portland Building Society booklet as well. It was great fun. Then I get sort of 17, 18, 19, and then we stopped doing this a while ago. Go to university, graduate, and I'm no longer thinking about the sand surf business, and I'm not really thinking about being an entrepreneur either. That seemed to have ebbed away. And I do the worst thing you could do as an entrepreneur, actually, is I start working for someone else. So I go straight into employment. And that was the start of a 17-year career in the city or in companies that are usually based near the city anyway, but we'll call it a city career. And I started working for market data companies and software companies in sales and account management roles, which I thought I loved, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. And to a degree, it was. The first 6-7 years went really well. I had a great time, I made money, and really enjoyed it, spent most of it. My mum called me a boozy Spencer, which wasn't far off the mark. But after talking of boozy Spencer, if the glass of wine just gone. The last 10 years, though, it very slowly started to unravel for me. So it was a very slow unravelling, but unravel nonetheless. Sort of increased drinking, decreased productivity, but very slowly, almost imperceptibly, really. Until the last couple of years when it really started to bite, and I found that my drinking was completely out of control, but I was very highly functioning, which is perhaps an asset and a liability at the same time. In the end, a liability. And I realised that I was really not enjoying what I did anymore, and I was going through the motions and acting. And it was 4 years ago, and I had, well, I wouldn't call it an epiphany as such, but more of a rock bottom, when I realised that this couldn't go on anymore. And I was blaming the drinking and saying it was this, it was the job, it was all these other things, but actually, what it was, and it took me a while to realise this, is that I wasn't doing something that was authentic. What I was doing was putting a round peg in a square hole and trying to make something work that I believed I should be good at and should be doing. And it wasn't working out for me anymore. And that was a really startling realisation. And over the last few years, I've really come to terms with that a lot more as well, and that is very destructive. And that led to a lot of destructive behaviours for me. But before I actually resigned, I was trying to make it work and kind of martyring myself in this stagnant pool of misery by saying, I can't leave, it's work, and I'm not going to get the money, and all these excuses for why you can't just leave. Now what I do now is I work as a burnout coach, so I spend a lot of time with people who come to me ostensibly for physical fitness gains or weight loss and things like that. But what I've come to realise in the few years I've been doing this is that's not really the issue. What they have is a much bigger problem, and sometimes it's the elephant in the room that they're kind of just walking around, and sometimes they don't know it's there, this huge thing that's so big and so scary that they don't want to confront it. So they create little things in front of it that mask and hide it, and then obsess about them. So they'll come to me and say, I want to lose this stone. And a stone is what, you know, it's, if you've lost it, it's a lot of weight. You know, it's about 14 pounds, a pound's about the size of a palm, like that. So it's a big chunk of weight. But it's not the sort of weight that's going to make you ecstatically happy or desperately unhappy if you gain or lose. It's not going to put you to pre-diabetic or completely healthy. It's not that significant a sum of weight. Or they'll say, I want more help with sleep or energy issues or stress management. And what I've learned is that if you really dig down into that and say, no, what is it you really want? It's not that. What do you really want? And this might take a bit of time, and it might not. What you discover is quite often, not always, it's actually about what people are doing for a living, what they spend their 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week doing. And I've come to realise that if I help people confront that, and however we need to go about it, the other stuff disappears. From their head, the stone's not important anymore because they've got a bigger goal. And it always sorts itself out. You know, the weight issue resolves itself because it actually isn't about eating too much. It's about what's driving that eating. So that, I think, it's probably something, the major thing that I've learned about myself and about the people I work with over the last few years. And I just think it's incredibly important to do something you love. So I kind of put it to you to consider whether you are, and I know I'm talking to a room full of business owners and entrepreneurs, so you are probably doing something you love. But perhaps just take a minute now to close your eyes and just spend a few seconds thinking about whether you were really doing something you love, or take yourself back to when you were 7 or whatever age you were and what you dreamt of then. Okay, and anchor that feeling and see whether or not it chimes with where you're at now, or whether you're finding that you're doing something completely different, and that might be cool, but it might not as well. So as I say to clients, you know, the times we live in now are extremely entrepreneurial. We live in an age where you can set a business up in a bedroom. I don't know if any of you have heard of Michelle Phan. She's an American entrepreneur. She's 29 years old now, but she made a fortune. She's got 8.5 million followers on, I think it's Facebook. No, YouTube, sorry. She basically sat in her bedroom with a little camera on a smartphone, and she recorded makeup tips. Yeah, now you all know who I'm talking about. I had to Google her name, actually, a girl who does makeup on YouTube in bedroom before I came. So everyone knows who I'm talking about once you talk about what she does. That's incredible. And she's monetised that. It's a huge success. We've got beautiful accounting software, a little bit of product placement you can get online now. You can get a virtual assistant from anywhere in the world to help you for £25 an hour. You know, the times we live in are hugely entrepreneurial. It's an entrepreneur's paradise at the moment. So it's really important, I think, to do what you love. There's never been a better time for us as entrepreneurs to do what we love. So consider it. And life is for living. It's extremely short. It goes quickly, and I say that in a very positive and optimistic way. So it's really important we make the most of it, and I hope that you do. Thank you.